this video, we're going to cover the DAO methods to find, add, update, and delete. Now, before we get into the DAO discussion, I want to mention a best practice regarding the service layer. The best practice is to apply transactional boundaries at the service layer. It's really the service layer's responsibility to manage the transaction boundaries. What this means for our implementation code is that we'll apply the transactional annotation on our service methods, and we'll actually remove the transactional annotation on our DAO methods if they already exist. So effectively here, we're going to shift the transactional annotations from the DAO methods over to the service methods. And that's the best practice for managing transactions whenever you're making use of service layers and DAOs at the same time in the same architecture. Now, just picking back up on our development process, we're going to focus on the last couple of steps here of adding our DAO methods for getting a single employee, adding a new, updating, and also deleting an existing employee. And so we'll kind of focus on the DAO aspect of it here. All right, let's get started with the DAO of getting a single employee. So we'll have this method here, find by ID, pass in the integer ID. We make use of this entity manager.find and we give that ID. This will return the employee, and then we simply return this given employee from our method. And now the DAO method to add or update an employee. We'll have this method called save. They'll pass in an employee. And what we'll do is we'll make use of a save or update feature here. So we'll make use of this entity manager.merge and we pass in the employee. Now, the way this merge method works here is that it'll perform a save or update depending on the actual ID of the entity. If the ID of the entity is equal to 0, then it'll actually save or insert that given entity into the database. So that's like a new entry there. Else, if the ID is not equal to 0, it'll simply perform an update. Okay, so effectively here, if ID is 0, it's going to be an insert, else it'll be an update. And this method will return the updated employee. So here at the bottom here, we say return DB employee. So it's really important here is that you need to return the DB employee. This is the one that's been updated from the database. So it has the updated ID from the actual database in the case of an insert. All right, so make sure you return the correct one when you make this given return statement, because effectively you want the latest version from the database, not the one that was passed in. Also, notice here at the top, we don't use the transactional annotation at the DAO layer, because this will be handled at the service layer. So again, remember, when you're making use of DAOs and services together, the best practice is that the DAO does not handle the transactional, instead it's managed at the service layer. And we'll see more examples of this as we get through the coding process. Now here's the DAO method for deleting an existing employee. So we have this method here, delete by ID. We pass in the ID. The first thing we do is we find the employee, and then we simply say entity manager.remove the employee. And that'll actually delete that employee from the database. And a similar thing here for this delete, since we're modifying the database, we don't use transactional at the DAO layer. It'll be handled at the service layer. Alrighty, this looks really good so far. Good job.